1954, a traveler stepped off a plane in Tokyo, and reality broke. He carried a passport from a country no one had ever heard of. Officials were stunned. Maps didn't show it. History didn't record it. But the documents were real. For decades, the story of the man from Taured was whispered as myth, until reports surfaced confirming the impossible. Not only was he real, what happened next was far worse than anyone dared to imagine. This isn't just another mystery. It's a chilling glimpse into something we were never meant to understand. Arrival without a past. It was a sweltering day in July 1954 when a seemingly routine arrival at Tokyo's Haneda Airport became something that would puzzle officials for decades to come. Among the steady flow of businessmen, tourists, and diplomats moving through customs, one man stood out. He was sharply dressed, carried a black briefcase, and spoke fluent French and Japanese with an unmistakable European accent. On the surface, he seemed like a well-traveled professional accustomed to international borders. But what happened next would set off a chain of events so strange, so deeply unsettling, that many would later wonder whether he had ever belonged to our world at all. The man handed over his documents without hesitation, confident and polite. His passport appeared legitimate, stamped with visas from countries across Europe and Asia. The customs officer, however, paused when he glanced at the country of origin. The passport listed Taured, a nation that, as far as any map or historical record showed, simply did not exist. At first, officials assumed it was a mistake, a misunderstanding caused by translation or a typo. But the man insisted without any sign of confusion or deceit that Taured was real. In fact, he seemed mildly offended that they had never heard of it. Pressed for clarification, the man confidently pointed to a map, jabbing his finger between France and Spain, where the tiny Principality of Andorra is located. But instead of acknowledging Andorra, he grew visibly upset, claiming that Taured had occupied that land for over 1,000 years. Airport officials tried to remain calm, but the situation quickly spiraled into something they couldn't explain. The man's supporting documents, driver's license, business papers, even a checkbook, all seemed to validate his claim, each listing Taured as his home country. Every item bore the same baffling insignia, one that no customs official had ever seen before. Worried that they were dealing with a sophisticated forgery, or some kind of criminal deception, authorities decided to question him further. Yet the man's story never wavered. He spoke confidently about his company, European offices he had visited, even the banking relationships he maintained. When officials called the company he claimed to be visiting in Tokyo, they found it existed. But no one there had ever heard of it. They called the company he claimed to work for in Taured, but no such company could be found. It was as if he had materialized from a parallel world where every detail was almost, but not quite, the same. To rule out mental illness, they asked a medical professional to observe him during the questioning. The doctor found him sane, coherent, and more confused by the situation than anyone else. His demeanor suggested a man who truly believed everything he said, and was growing more unsettled by the minute as reality refused to align with his memories. The authorities, unable to charge him with any crime but unwilling to let him move freely, placed him under guard in a hotel room for the night, while they continued their investigation. As he was escorted to his temporary lodging, the man from Taured reportedly muttered to one guard that he had been through Tokyo many times before without issue, and he couldn't understand why this time was any different. It was a simple statement, almost sad in its delivery. He had no idea that he would never get the chance to explain further. For as strange as his arrival had been, what would happen next would tear apart any logical explanation. The airport staff believed they were simply dealing with a confused traveler, a case of mistaken identity. They were wrong. Very wrong. The real mystery hadn't even begun yet. At first glance, the man's passport appeared beyond reproach. It was manufactured from the same materials as any European-issued document, complete with the expected seals, stamps, and watermarks. Even under ultraviolet light, nothing looked amiss. The stamps themselves told a compelling story. Entries and exits from France, Spain, Germany, and even 2 prior arrivals into Japan, all spanning the last 5 years. Each stamp matched the correct styles and dates used by customs agencies at the time. Yet there was a glaring impossibility at the center of it all. None of it should have existed. The country issuing the document, Taured, was not recognized by any nation.